Hey everybody, this is Devin Townsend and you are watching Stormbringer, the Austrian heavy zine.
Devin, new album, Transcendence. You started a new project for yourself. You relinquished some parts of your power to the other musicians because you are known as a control freak. So how was that for you? Was it a learning process all in all?
I mean, everything's a learning process, right? I mean, I think it also comes down to the fact that in order to continue doing this, you got to have something that you can sing about that makes you feel like you're not like just lying, right? So you have to sort of dig into yourself and see where that growth is going to occur. And I think that's what it was. It was just one of these things that as I got older, it's just the writing was on the wall that my need to control everything was probably rooted in insecurity more than anything else. And that being said, I still had the vision for the record and wrote it in many ways exactly like it had been done in the past. It's just the way that we ended up assembling it as a band involved a lot more of their objective opinions on what it is that I was writing than I've had before. And it resulted in something that I think is stronger than had I done it on my own at this point.
And you wrote like 40 or 50 songs for this record.
Always.
And yeah, like always.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you always mention that you are afraid that your creativity will cease someday, so that nothing comes anymore. So how does this keep the balance?
Maybe it was 40 or 35 or 40 of those songs were shitty.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I think there's a difference between writing and writing good music, right? And like, I think it's all at this point about checks and balances. You have to be aware enough of yourself and aware enough of what you're doing in your own life to be able to, as you're writing, recognize which songs are like important. Because if it's not important to me, it's not going to be important to the listener. I think that's why it has worked for so long. Is I try to create an atmosphere with the music that the listeners can participate in. So whatever it is that I felt during the year that I was writing it, I try and make the records have that effect on people. And you have to be very precise with the colors and the shapes and the themes and the sounds and the tones in order for people who have no idea or no connection to your past or this year to listen to it and say, oh, I get it. I understand this vibe. So, creativity for me is something that goes hand in hand with just progression as a person, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
But you in another interview you mentioned that you think that the project is an explanation for what happened with Strapping Young Lad. So is there any chance you need an explanation for the project as well in the future with another band, or is it all set?
Possibly. I mean, when I say these things, it often sounds like I have a very purposeful intention. Like, I'm going to write this, and then I'm going to write this, and I'm going to write this, and then it'll be this overarching theme that people will be able to participate in the long run. But unfortunately, it's not that. I just keep fucking up. And then in hindsight, it makes sense, right? So in terms of what happens in the future, potentially, yeah, sure. Maybe I need something to clarify what I'm doing now. Or maybe I just don't need to do anything. I mean, it remains to be seen. And luckily, I'm able to participate only at this very moment, because otherwise I think I'd be overwhelmed.
Yeah, of course. You always say that making a new record is a kind of nightmare for you. So are you yourself just keen to put yourselves to nightmares? Is it part of the creative process?
I've always wondered that. I really hope not, because that would be really disappointing to think that you're just being a martyr for whatever bullshit you happen to think is appealing at that point. I don't think I want the nightmares. I think that in a similar way but different, the vision is so important to me that I'm willing to continuously have nightmares. But I don't crave punishment at all. Like, holy shit, man. And I don't crave drama either. I proactively have been trying to find ways to attract things to my life that aren't dramatic. Through people or situations. There's people that I know that are just constantly exploding bombs. People that I even care for that just, their whole life is just drama, man. It's like, time I hear from them, it's like some horrible thing, but it all seems to be self-imposed. I'm like, this is the same thing that you did in the past that caused you problems. But either you're choosing not to see the pattern, or you love it.
Yeah. Or the people don't learn from the past.
Well, but I think there's also the other side of, like, if you don't learn and you're oblivious, that's one thing. But I think there's some people that are really clever that have to be aware that the patterns are repeating. And if you can identify the things in your life that are causing this to happen, yet continue, I mean, I have to distance myself from people like that, because I don't have a lot of energy to feed into that. Like, a lot of times people who really like that drama require other people to validate it, like to drag other people into this drama, and all of a sudden you're in this dark place and you're like, how the fuck did we get here? So I've chosen people to be around that, although we all are normal people and have ups and downs, everybody's seemingly proactively trying to become better, as opposed to just comfortable in that suffering, right?
I think the drama people just energy suckers.
That's what it is. It's vampires. Yeah.
Everybody got those people in his life, so...
Yeah, but I think at a certain point you have opportunities, not always, but sometimes you have opportunities to make a real statement and say, I can't have you in my life.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Have you ever been afraid when you brought out a new record that the people don't like it or something? Is this part of the nightmare as well?
Oh, every time. Yeah. Every time, but it hasn't stopped me. I think that's an important point to make, like, every time I put out a record, I'm like, people aren't going to like this. But as long as I do, then that doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm sitting on the other end and I always think, Devin Townsend's got a new record out. It must be super,
Well, I appreciate
I don't expect a bad record from you.
I appreciate it. But I mean, maybe the reason why I've had a relatively consistent track record with people like yourself is that my litmus test for it being finished is whether or not I like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think I've put out a record. I know I haven't put out a record, or my thought at the end is, other people will like this while I don't. It's always, if I react to it, then I'm satisfied with it. And I think that's how I've kind of created a career. I think the people that listen to the stuff expect that whether or not it's metal or country or ambient or whatever, I'm doing it because that's what I feel compelled to do.
And the people buy it because it's you and it's not some kind of style or genre.
Or that it's honest.
Yeah. Another thing of you is the Siltoid figure. He's fueling his spaceship with black coffee, normally, and you're drinking lots of coffee, as far as I know.
The coffee.
So how much of him is in you, and how much of you is in Siltoid, actually?
Well, I mean, all. Ziltoid started as a way for me to articulate musical ideas that at one point, through avenues such as Strapping Young Lad, I found dangerous for me to express. I tend to be empathetic in ways while I'm writing music that whatever I choose to participate in, my whole world resonates with. And so I've got to be very careful with the people I choose, the media that I choose, the things that I choose to engage myself in, the things I put in my body, all this. I got to be really careful with it because I am very sensitive to these things. And So prior to Ziltoid, I think we were kind of in the same body, and it took having kids and sobriety and all this stuff for me to separate that part of my personality, that sort of selfish and alien and childish and aggressive and all this sort of shit. And then by making a character out of it, I felt I was able to like observe it in a way and analyze it, and then realize it for what it is, which is like silly, you know? And I mean, obviously how I write and how I think about it is a very personal thing, but you don't want to impose that on your audience. You don't want to make everything you do so self-absorbed that people have to participate in your own existential drama to understand it. So the fact that he's a puppet and he's got like farting testicles and all this sort of stuff, it's like separate from whatever identity crisis I had.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun, right? And so it's two birds with one stone.
Okay. You got another project in the pipeline. It's called Moth.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that about? It's a big ass orchestra, as far as I know.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a lot like drugs, you know, like you start with a little bit of weed, and then you need a lot of weed, then you need a big bong, and then you need, you know, mushrooms, and then
Ziltoid comes out.
Then Ziltoid, and then cocaine, and then heroin, and then you're dead, right? But it's like, same with creative stuff for me. I need bigger and bigger kicks for me to be interested in it. I love playing bass, I love playing quiet guitar, I love doing what I do, but in order for me to be interested in like making a big spectacle, it has to be more and more over the top. And so the Moth is a project that has a very basic but convoluted theme about power and sex and God and death, basically, and a completely open slate for me to illustrate that in profoundly offensive ways.
Bring it on stage.
Yeah, with symphonies and choir and all that. Yeah.
So is this the next step to your creativity? Adding choirs and orchestras?
It looks like it.
As you did, by the way, with the 20th anniversary of the C squared and
yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, it's like I'm just kind of feeling it out, and that seems to be where all signs are pointing. So I'll just follow the road.
You are very creative, and there's lots of output coming out of you musically. Do you think is when fans might meet you in private, which never might happen, but do they think Devin is a boring person in private?
God, I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
I love being dull. You know, I think a lot of times what I've hoped to do, like through social media or any of these things, is maybe pull back the veil a little bit, because I think our society has a need for gods and martyrs, and none of us are either. Well, there's a bunch of us are martyrs for sure, but I mean, gods, it's like no one has any answers. No one's any better or worse than anybody else. It's just a bunch of fucking humans trying to figure out how to exist. And so I think with that, you know, I often, sometimes people, like last night, there were people that waited outside and it was really cold, and I came outside, and the impression they gave me was that I was very different from them, you know, and somebody had made a comment that I seemed very normal. And I'm like, well, fuck yeah.
They were surprised that you were so normal.
Yeah, which is disappointing in a way, because you want to be considered normal. I don't want to be considered a freak or an anomaly. I like to think that because I'm sober, and because I've had a lot of experience, and because I get bored, my creativity is just like, I don't have any parameters on it. I'm not worried about doing something that's going to sell or something that's going to offend people or whatever. It's just I just have fun, right? And I have a bunch of people around me that help me do that. So when people think that is fundamentally either like brilliant or insane or any of these things. I mean, it's neither, you know. I've been doing this for a long time. I've learned how to do it well, and I enjoy it. But I mean, in private, man, I just, you know, I like making furniture and taking care of the family, and you know, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a genius, I'm not insane. I'm just like,
That's how people see you, maybe.
well, that's my own fault for years of doing really dumb interviews when I was high.
Yeah, so we'd be glad this is a normal interview. You once said, "I fall asleep. That's how I party." Is this still the case?
Yeah, well, I mean, my threshold for stimulus is very low, and how I react to it is I get tired. So when things are super intense, I get sleepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no big backstage parties here.
Fuck no.
Yeah.
As soon as the show's over, I listen to quiet music and fart around on the internet and eat some cereal or something. No, I just, you know, it's I think I'm an ambivert. When I'm extroverted, I'm very extroverted, and the rest of the time I'm not.
Yeah.
Well, you know, everybody's different, obviously, right? There's things that I'm good at that other people aren't good at. There's things other people are good at that I'm not good at. But, you know, in my own way, I'm carving out reasons for me to rationalize my existence that I'm satisfied with. So, hooray.
Hooray. So thank you, Devin, and I hope the show is fine tonight.
Me too.
And I hope we hear lots and tons of orchestral stuff and everything coming out of your...
Thank you, brother.
By the way, here is a book out as well.
Yeah.
It's called Halfway There.
Yeah.
How did you know this halfway? Not a 3/4 way or something?
Maybe I'm like 7/8.
Okay.
That doesn't flow as well.
Okay.